What's up, friends? Welcome back to the podcast. You guys, I'm so grateful you are here. You guys, I know that in this season in time and just the world in general, I say this all the time, but I truly mean it. The world is on fire. And so I think a lot of us are struggling in different ways more intensely than we used to. And I don't know if it's because it's post-COVID. I don't know if it's because of all the divisiveness. I don't know what the answer is. But today I just wanted to kind of talk about that a bit. And then I wanted to just offer 3 takeaways or 3 suggestions that help me when I'm feeling overwhelmed or when I'm stressed with a lot of the circumstances that are out of my control. So anyways, I hope that this episode encourages you. I'm so grateful you are here. Welcome to a Holy Mess podcast. All right, my friends, we all know life can be so difficult and painful at times, especially when we're carrying grief or loss or wrestling with shame about our past, anxiety about our future, or frankly, like we are just not enough. But there has to be so much more for us. There is hope and joy, peace, love, fun, purpose, and a reason that you, my friend, are on this planet. Let's partner with God so you can be who He created you to be as you wrestle through and trudge through your mess. Hi, I'm Dani, a recovering alcoholic, a mom, a wife, a mentor, and dust. We are only here for a moment. Let's live like it. I'm just like you. I'm a holy mess most days. Actually, every day. Let's have some fun and laugh while trudging through our mess. This stuff doesn't need to be dry and boring. Let's dig in. All right, you guys, I wanted to open with 2 quotes by Charles Spurgeon. I love these quotes, but here's the first one. There is hardship in everything except eating pancakes. Is that not hilarious? Oh my gosh, I love pancakes. Okay. The second quote is, a Jesus who never wept could never wipe away my tears. Again, that's by Charles Spurgeon. I just love those quotes. I'll put those quotes in the show notes for you. But you guys, I just wanted to talk about how life is hard right now. I just want to mention it. If you're struggling and there's just intense things going on in your life, or you're feeling overwhelmed, I just want you to know you're not alone. I just feel like in the last couple of weeks, even as I've interacted in my life, a lot of people in my circle are struggling more than normal. And I just thought, you know what? I think the world is just on fire. I think a lot of stuff is just intense right now. I think a lot of our kids are struggling at times. And so that causes, esteem within us to struggle. I think with aging parents, I think there's a lot of components. So I just wanted to talk about it a little bit on this episode. And then, like I said, I have 3 little takeaways or just suggestions that I want to offer you that may help. So you guys, I know that even when we open up the news, it doesn't make it any better, right? So I know that there's a lot of us, we've got some chaos within our home, whether it be with a spouse or our children, or maybe even just drama in your neighborhood or in your city, or, things going on at your kid's school. And it's just an intense season. So I know a lot of us tend to struggle. When we struggle, we tend to ask the questions like, why? Why is it so intense? Like, what is going on? Is there something in the air? Or is it just me? Am I being dramatic? Am I making a big deal out of something that I shouldn't? And I know a lot of us are just wondering, has it always been this intense, or is it unusually hot and intense right now? You guys, I know that our bodies, we carry the stress too. And sometimes we're too busy to even notice that our bodies are struggling and we're close to burnout and exhaustion. And I know for me, sometimes I don't even realize how stressed I am until I react in some explosive or ridiculous manner, and usually the unsuspecting victims are my children, where I overreact about something, right? And then I'm like, whoa, let's take a step back. Like, this was a very age appropriate thing that, one of my kids did. And why am I acting like they just robbed a liquor store, right? Like they didn't do anything that gnarly. And, some of our reactions, we feel like it's justified because things happen over and over again, whether it be with friendships or just, relationships or people. And so some of our reactions we feel like are justified, but I'm just saying, I think that sometimes we aren't even really aware of all the pressure we're under until like things are boiling out of us. And then we think there's something fundamentally wrong with us because, oh gosh, I'm not handling this right. Or shouldn't I be more godly, quote unquote? Shouldn't I be more filled with the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, kindness, and self-control? Well, yeah, that's the goal, but don't forget, that's a gift from the Holy Spirit. But when we have all this stuff, this murky water, in between, when we have really hard things, I think that's what gets in the way. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're doing anything wrong if you're not walking in all love and joy and peace and patience and gentleness and self-control. Like, the world is on fire and it affects us. Like, I say this all the time, but you guys, we're not spiritual robots, right? We're human beings. We were created with certain capacities and sensitivities and all of this stuff. And so I think the goal of life is really learning to live well within our skin and within our circumstances and all of that. But sometimes things are just hard. And it's not that there's something fundamentally wrong with you because it's hard right now, or because you're not reacting or responding in the way that you necessarily would love to. I mean, you guys, we're carrying so much just as a world right now. You know, there's finance stuff. I know the economy's not great for some people. I know as we age, there's just health stuff, and we have, that can trigger fear stuff. I know I'm going through it right now just with aging parents, and I think there's no real way to prepare for that whole situation. And so if a spouse or children have health stuff, or there's a lot, okay? Like, there's a lot. And I know people have always had a lot on their plate, but I just feel like, being that we're in such an era of information, I don't think WebMD helps many of us when we start Googling symptoms. I don't think necessarily knowing about all the tragedies and hardship going on all around the world is necessarily helpful for our souls, although we can't bury our head in the sand. Like, we have to be aware, but it's just hard. I mean, there's just a lot. So here's what I want to say. I don't know what the answers are. I really feel like post-COVID, it's like someone just turned up the heat on all of our emotions and just this intense season, right? And I think there was some division even boiling under the surface prior, but so many of us are just struggling with things that we don't really control. And you guys, that's part of the problem. We're literally a world of many little control freaks, right? And, I don't say that in a negative way. I think some of us just see some solutions in people's lives or in the world that we think we can help, but so much of it is out of our control. And so we don't have control to help a lot of these situations. And it's not fun to feel helpless in situations. Okay, so enough about the problems. Like I said, I don't have a magic wand, and I can't solve any of my own problems or irritants, let alone yours, right, through a podcast. But I want to tell a funny story that kind of goes along the lines of this whole episode, and then I want to get to my 3 little takeaways or suggestions. So last week, I had to go away for a couple of days. I was on a deadline with things, and my hubby, Gary, and I both agreed that for everyone's sanity, I should just go on a little silent work retreat to get stuff done for 36 hours. Well, it wasn't a quiet work retreat, but I did get stuff done. I got to tell you, my ADD at home was on fire, and I had some deadlines because our group coaching had launched, the Feel Better journey. And so I had to get everything ready for that whole program. And I was just not being very productive at home. And so I got to tell you, I got so much done. I got like a month's worth of work done in 2 days, which is crazy. Okay. It was just absolutely amazing. And I'm so, so grateful. But here's the funny part. So while I was gone, one of our dogs, and it was the dog that, of course, my husband didn't want us to have, but she's our COVID puppy who I love, Coco. She's amazing. But Gary reminds me all the time that he didn't really want her, although like he is her favorite, which is just so ironic. But anyway, so she had one of the worst stomach aches while I was gone. And let's just say Gary was cleaning rugs and actually one of our couches and some bedding for the better part of one whole day, which, by the way, Gary has a career and like is busy with work. And so it wasn't like the best timing, right? And honestly, it was my fault that she had a tummy ache. I gave her a new anxiety soft chew before I left because, well, I thought this was a good time to try them. They just got here. And so, but poor Gary just thought she must have eaten something in the yard. And then I finally did confess and was like, oh my gosh, it's my fault. So we had a good laugh about that. But she is known for eating random stuff. So I could have not told him, but I felt like that would have been dishonest. And it would have been, so I'm glad I told him. But what I'm saying is, it was my fault that she had the stomach ache, okay? But I was nowhere to be found to deal with it afterwards, okay? And I think some of our lives feel like that. Like someone else made some decisions and we're stuck picking up all the pieces and the mess from someone else's choices. Like Gary had to clean up the messes of my choices because I was nowhere to be found, right? You guys, and that's why life feels so overwhelming and difficult at times. We literally don't control so many things. Yet here we are having to clean up the mess, whether it be relationally or in so many ways. And so I think that's why it just is so frustrating to so many of us so much of the time. And so I don't have the answers other than here are 3 little takeaways and suggestions. Number 1, be validated. Life is intense and hard for so many of us right now. I just want you to know if you're feeling that, you are not alone. Trust me, so many people are struggling. Actually, I honestly think if people are honest, most people are struggling right now. Okay, so I think it's our job to validate ourselves and to not continue to question and wonder if there's something wrong with me or what am I doing wrong or is it just me? I think let's all just take a deep breath and collectively validate ourselves. Okay, it's hard because it's hard right now. Number 2, you get to take care of yourself. I'm giving you permission, not that you need my permission, but if you need my permission, I'm giving you permission to take care of yourself. And you need to give yourself permission to take care of yourself, whatever that means. So you have permission to say no. You have permission to have boundaries with people. You have permission to turn off the news. You have permission to not respond to that text. You guys, you don't owe people an explanation for everything, especially if you don't have the bandwidth to explain it or to even get into details. You have permission to not have all the answers or to fix everything today, okay? My second takeaway and suggestion for you is really take a few minutes to figure out, like, how can I take better care of myself in this? Do I need to put up boundaries with those friends? Do I need to put up boundaries with the news? What can I do to take care of myself in this? And some of us, we don't know what that answer is. And so what I suggest, if you're like, I don't know how to take care of myself, I'm so busy taking care of everyone else. Here's what I want to suggest. What is something that brings you joy? And if you're like, I don't know what brings me joy, I'm just in a frustrated season. What brought you joy as a kid? Was it going to the beach? Was it playing at the park? Go on a walk at a park. Go buy yourself some flowers. Call a good buddy. Go shoot some hoops. Like, find something to take care of yourself in action, right? You guys know I'm a transformational Christian life coach. And fundamentally, I believe that we are spiritual beings and that we have minds to contend with and bodies to contend with and spirits and souls. And I believe we're all interconnected. And so just get in some action to take care of yourself and not in some pressure, shame-based way where you have to go to the gym for 45 minutes. Like, just go on a walk and go buy yourself your favorite Gatorade. Like, do something and then kind of begin to evaluate what are the big stressors and what adds to it that you don't really need in your life, right? Like, we don't need to have the news feed on our phone. If the news triggers you, man, put up a boundary. Now listen, don't ignore your kids. If your kids are your biggest trigger and they live in your home and they text you, you still have to respond to your kids. But it's learning to take care of yourself in the moment. And I could probably do a whole episode or series on this point alone, but I just want you to know you have permission to take care of yourself. And then my point number 3 is we get to learn from our struggles and even our mistakes. You guys, these things can be our greatest teachers if we let them. It's hard to stop beating ourselves up for things when we think we should have done things differently or handled things differently, or if we had done things differently, maybe the outcome would be different. And these are usually the things we think about when we wake up at 3 a.m., right? Not many of us are thinking about our highlight reel when we wake up in the middle of the night. But you guys, hindsight is always 20/20. And frankly, there's decisions I wouldn't have made yesterday knowing what I know today, let alone decisions I made 5 or 10 years ago and choices that I made, right? So learning from our mistakes and not beating ourselves up for them as best you can and saying, okay, I'm going to choose to let this teach me, but not define me. I think that is a huge note that some of us need to put up on our mirror. And so I'm going to say it again, write a little Post-it note to say, I just choose to let this teach me, not define me. So those are my little 3 takeaways. I'll repeat them really quickly again. Number 1, validate yourself. Be validated. Life is intense right now. Number 2, you have permission to take care of yourself and you have permission to figure out what that would even look like and be patient with yourself. It may take a little bit to figure that out. And then number 3, you have permission and you get to learn from what's going on. How can what's going on be your teacher? It's all information to be able to help you figure out your next right steps and being able to choose to say, I choose to let this teach me, not define me. You guys, these are all just little mindset hacks and tricks that I love to do, and they really do help me, and they really do move the needle. So I hope this episode helped you when you're dealing with overwhelm or stress or just things you can't control in general. So anyways, I love you guys. I'll be in touch in a few days. Let me say a quick prayer over you. Father, I thank you for my friends, God. I thank you for this community. I thank you for what you're doing, God. Lord, I pray for my friends right now, God. I pray that they would know that they're not alone if they're struggling, Father, that there's so many intense things going on all around us. How, frankly, could we not be struggling, Lord? But God, I know that you are present, that you are with us. So, Father, may we feel your presence and your joy and your love today. Bless my friend and hold him close. In Jesus' name, amen. Hello, my friend. If this episode blessed you, made you laugh, or triggered you, hey, that's growth. Please do me a favor and share this with a friend. And if you feel led, please leave a written review for the show. That really helps us out. Don't forget, you are in good company if you're feeling more broken than you'd like to admit. And you are more loved than you can ever imagine. Have a great week. See you next time.